lizard man. The swamplands of Lee County, South Carolina, as well as sewers and abandoned tunnels in the area, are purported to be the haunt of a large reptilian humanoid that has become known as the Lizard Man of Orr Swamp or the Lizard Man of Lee County. It is undoubtedly a baffling apparition, said to be a bipedal reptile of some sort, which stands around 7 feet tall, is covered in green scaly skin, with occasional mentions of tufts of hair amongst the prominent scales, and has 3-fingered clawed hands, sometimes described as being webbed, and 3 toes, also with formidable claws, as well as a hideous face with fangs and large glowing orange eyes. There are occasional accounts that make mention of a long tail reminiscent of that of an alligator, and the creature is said to be fairly aggressive. Perhaps the most well-known report, and the one which launched the lizard man into the public consciousness, is that of a local 17-year-old boy named Christopher Davis. In the dark early morning hours of June 29, 1988, Davis was allegedly driving home from work on a lonely road near the Scape or Swamp, just outside of Bishopville, when he got a flat tire. As he was out changing the tire with a spare he kept in the trunk, Davis heard a strange noise, like thumping, which clearly stood out amongst the din of the buzzing of insects and other swamp sounds of the night. When he turned to see what had made the odd sound, he was startled to see a bizarre creature with glowing red eyes running at full speed across a nearby field towards him. With the distance between them dwindling rapidly and sensing that the thing had decidedly aggressive intent, Davis then retreated to the confines of his car in a panic, after which it came at the vehicle and violently grabbed the door handle. The terrified youth could see the enraged creature yanking at his door now clearly from the neck down, and described it as having green scales and 3 large fingers with curved claws. The monster then apparently jumped onto the roof of the car and attempted to pry the roof off with its bare hands before Davis sped off and somehow managed to jostle it off. When he returned home, Davis claimed that the door handle of his car had been seriously damaged and that there had been what appeared to be scratches and gouges on the roof of the vehicle, as well as strips of vinyl siding that had apparently been ripped off. The boy's father would later take him to the Lee County Sheriff's Office, where he would relate the whole incident to Sheriff Liston Truesdale. The report was undoubtedly unusual but also intriguing, as apparently there had been a report a few weeks earlier, on July 14, 1988, that something large had badly mauled the car of an older couple named Tom and Mary Wayne, in the nearby rural community of Browntown, although it was not yet known just what sort of animal had done it. Nevertheless, the authorities were skeptical of Davis's dramatic story at first, but over the next few weeks, further sightings of the lizard man in the area's swamp started coming in, many of these from seemingly credible sources, as well as more complaints of damage to cars, such as scratches and teeth, marks caused by some wild animal, and even missing dogs and cats. Authorities investigating one of these reports were even able to obtain casts of odd, 3-toed footprints measuring 14 inches, 36 centimeters, in length that were unable to be linked to any known wildlife. With the growing list of reports coming in, the sheriff's department came to the conclusion that there was probably something indeed running around spooking people and damaging cars, but that it was probably a bear or coyote rather than a giant human-lizard hybrid. In the meantime, the stories of the lizard man prowling the swamps had provoked a media frenzy, with reporters and curious tourists flocking to the area in the hopes of getting a glimpse of the creature. One radio station even offered up a $1 million reward for the successful capture of the beast, and there were the inevitable armed, trigger-happy monster hunters showing up as well. This sharp spike in media interest and tourism would start to fade in the light of a bogus sighting made by an airman stationed at Shaw Air Force Base by the name of Kenneth Orr, who claimed that he had actually shot the lizard man and even presented scales and blood from the creature as evidence. Orr would later admit to making up the whole thing in an effort to maintain the tale of the creature and keep tourists coming in. Another incident involved a man dressing up as a lizard and running around trying to spook people at night. In light of these hoaxes, as well as the steadily dropping number of actual credible sightings reports coming in, interest in the lizard man began to wane, and before long, the tourists and media attention petered out. Even so, reports of the lizard man have occasionally come in right into the 2000s, such as a woman who in 2005 claimed to have seen 2 large, scaly creatures with glowing eyes outside of her home in Newbury, SC. Interestingly, the phenomenon of lizard men is not confined to South Carolina, and there have been similar bipedal humanoid reptilian creatures spotted all over the United States, including the New Jersey Gator Man, the Ohio Loveland Frogman, and indeed, such monsters have been reported from all over the world, in such disparate countries as India, South Africa, Canada, and Japan. There have been rather far-out theories that these creatures could represent some sort of surviving dinosaur, the result of dinosaurs evolving along the lines of humans into a form similar to ours, or even that they are some sort of lizard-like aliens. The more likely explanation, at least in the case of the Ur swamp lizard man, is that it was an attempt to play up the mystery as a marketing ploy to draw in tourists, perhaps mixed in with a little mass hysteria. Indeed, when the TV show Destination Truth traveled to Lee County to investigate, they were met with a deluge of lizard man-related merchandise and came up with a decidedly faked footprint, leading them to come away quite skeptical about the whole tale.